Happy Sunday night, y'all. Happy Sunday night. Thanks for sticking with me and Reverend Ramona as we dance through our technical difficulties. We think like champions. Welcome to Sit on the Couch with Dr. Triphi. I am sitting on my couch. I hope Ramona is sitting comfortably. I hope you are sitting comfortably tonight. I am excited to see where our therapeutic conversation takes us. I'm a psychologist in Atlanta, Georgia, but I was born on the island of Dominica. And in Dominica, I grew up without much of an awareness of mental health. I think it persists today, the idea that we can handle our problems, we're fine, we don't need therapists. In fact, culturally speaking, people don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing their stories with other people. So there's still a lot of stigma surrounding mental health, and there's still anxiety and worry and discomfort, I think, when it comes to exploring our mental health on Dominica. I would venture to say it's similar for many Caribbean islands. So part of my goal with Sit on the Couch with Dr. Triphi is to destigmatize mental health, reaching out for mental health support. Yeah. To normalize speaking in a therapeutic way, going to a professional, somebody who has listened to many people for a long time and who's been trained to listen in a particular way to help us clarify things, to help us remember things. Yeah, to help us solidify our positions, to help us get a little validation, to help us think out loud so we can actually see, yeah, clearer. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience as we navigated the technicalities of this situation. I was saying earlier that if this were a typical therapy session, which it's not, I'm calling it a therapeutic conversation. If it was a typical therapy session, the first session, your therapist will go into an in-depth assessment that would start perhaps with you from birth to current. Yeah. Who were your parents? Where were you born? Sometimes even asking you, were your parents married when you were born? How many siblings you've got? What is your relationship with your siblings? Did you graduate from high school? Where did you go to college? What did you train in? Are you employed? Are you medically okay? Do you have any medical conditions? Do you have a history of trauma? Physical trauma, sexual trauma, psychological trauma? Do you have a history of being arrested? Or are you on probation? Have you served any time as an incarcerated person? Uh, Even have you used substances, illegal substances before? Are you still using? Are you drinking? How much are you drinking? So your therapist goes into depth to get a real clear snapshot of what you're coming into the space with to help us understand you better. We're going to assume that I've done all of this with Ramona, and I'm going to invite her in and she will introduce herself. Welcome, Ramona.
Thank you. Is it fourth time's a charm?
Yes, fourth time's the charm tonight. Yes.
Thank you.
So
So,
welcome.
oh,
Thank you for volunteering to do this. We've had an evangelist on here before. I said it seems like people in the ministry. I really love that y'all are taking the lead on this because there is some uh, kind of like an icky, squishy ground between mental health and the ministry. Can you talk a little bit about that and what made you want to do this?
well, it's either bravery or foolhardiness. But seriously, I think it's really important to have these type of conversations because, as you said, there's so much stigma when it comes to emotional and mental health. And as a minister, I think it helps when, because people tend to put people like myself sort of up there somewhere. And maybe not me, maybe it's just other people who do that too. And so I think having people like myself speak on these issues will enable other people. And my aim in life really is to help people um, see that they themselves are normal, whatever normal means, and that there's no shame in anything, and
Yes.
nothing ever gets solved by being secretive, by keeping stuff to yourself. I'm big on emotions, and I am not so great on emotional bypassing, and even worse is spiritual bypassing. I think there was some research done some years ago. I remember looking into it about the link between um, religion and mental health, where there's some research that show that actually people who are religious tend, I can either go one way or the other, where they can have mental health struggles because of that ideal they're trying to get to, or sometimes it actually helps them to overcome whatever struggles they're having. So it can work both ways. So I think it's important to have these types of conversations.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to ask you to share a little bit of your journey to becoming a minister.
Well, my journey started 30 plus years ago, really, when I was around 16, so yeah, 40 years ago. Uh, 40 years ago when I felt called to ministry. And at the time, I went to a Baptist church, and the particular branch of Baptist church that I went to didn't believe in women as ministers. And so I was very disappointed. My youth leader said, "That's not really going to happen, Ramona, because you're a woman. So you could marry somebody who's in ministry, or you could marry somebody who is not in ministry." Did
So
you
I
lose
tell
me
you,
just now?
I lost you just a little bit. It was
Yeah, it just
just the most,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, so yeah, my youth leader said you can marry somebody in ministry or you can become a missionary. And I thought, right, I'm going to become a missionary because I wasn't interested in getting married anyway.
Right.
But anyway, the journey to become a Methodist minister happened much later, because I found myself working within a Methodist church. And so therefore it kind of made sense to what they call candidate for the Methodist ministry, even though I had gone to Bible college 20 or so years before that. It made sense to kind of start again. So I started from scratch, in some ways, and trained as a Methodist minister and then got ordained in 2016. So
By that time, when you started from scratch again, how old were you?
I was in my 40s.
Mm,
Yes, I was in my
yeah.
40s.
So from
Yeah.
16 to 40,
Yes. Yes.
tiny. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I went to Bible college when I was 22, between 22 and 24. I
Mm-hmm.
graduated. I did a associate diploma in theology. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and then in my 40s, kind of went back into that with a different kind of focus and slant.
Mm-hmm. What has been one of your biggest joys along that journey?
Interesting. I think just the constant reminder that actually me being called to ministry was real. Because sometimes you can doubt yourself. When you think you have a certain vocation, you can doubt yourself. And just having different assurances along the way that actually, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, has been constant. Because I took, I said 40 years and whatever. I took different routes. So I actually went and studied performing arts as a first degree. And there was a time when my passport said actor on it as
Mm.
vocation.
Yeah.
And it was a case of, hey, remember me, God whispering, remember your call.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of constant reminder has been like, okay, especially in those moments when you doubt yourself, when you think,
Yeah.
well, am I really doing this? It's nice to have those reminders. Hey, there is a reason for that. So yeah,
Mm. And what would you say has been one of your biggest pains? Something that hurt a lot.
studying. Actually, some bits of training, and some disappointments in certain aspects of once you are once you've trained and you're what you call stationed to
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, having some unpleasant experiences with a particular colleague, that was hard. But the studying was, I found, challenging. But
Mm-hmm.
looking back, I realized that it's because I was actually struggling with my mental health at the time,
Mm.
without realizing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming at some point you realized what was going on.
Yes, and it wasn't until um, I was already stationed. I was already started in ministry, and it was just hard. I was just not feeling okay. I mean, I had a mental health crisis some years prior to that. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of the tail end of that. Maybe I would say 3, 4 years out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps the kind of help that I needed, um, I didn't have. And when you're taking medication, like when you're on antibiotics, they tell you to take it for the full length of the time. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, I was on medication then, but perhaps it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the right kind. And so
Mm-hmm.
added with the kind of pressures of life and ministry, perhaps
Mm-hmm.
made it more. Why does it keep doing this? Oh, it's annoying me. Sorry, this phone, I don't know why it's doing that. It keeps dropping. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think the pressures of life and ministry kind of heightened
Mm-hmm.
whatever underlying issues there are. So
Yeah, you're talking about something that is common where stress uh, triggers or it
mm,
inflames.
mm.
Yeah, what what we're already struggling with. When you say it was hard, what did hard look like for you? Like, in a real sense.
I couldn't, I just wasn't able to push myself. Um, my motivation was super low,
Mm-hmm.
and there was like this chaos in my head. And I remember describing it to the doctor as this tangled ball of wool. Or when you see a child trying to draw for the first time, you give a child a crayon and there's just scribbles all over the page.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it felt like was happening in my head. But that's happening, but then you have to show up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to show up, physically, outwardly, and
In real
internally.
life.
Yeah, internally it's like,
Mm-hmm.
right, static, just internally. And that's hard because you're working extra hard to stay, I suppose, grounded, and to
Mm-hmm.
remain in a way that you can still get through the things that you need to get through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of work. And so I think it began to affect me physically as
Mm-hmm.
well. And so I had this thing that happened lying in bed one night. I just started shaking, and I was
Mm-hmm.
just babbling
Mm-hmm.
gibberish, just, and
Mm-hmm.
ambulance was called, and I was in hospital for a few days. They did all sorts of tests, they couldn't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of said to one of the doctors one day, could this be related to my mental health? Is there something?
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like there was something. Um, and she said, do you think? And I think, well, I said, yes, I think there is something. So that's kind of when the real investigations um, begun. And I have to thank my adopted sister, who is a doctor in Virginia. She
Mm-hmm.
came to my ordination because this kind of was happening just before I was ordained, right? And I had spoken to her, and she knew me from, we knew each other since I was 14. So she
Mm-hmm.
could see the difference. She could see that there was something wrong. And so she made me do one of those tests.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, that's what the problem is. And so
Yeah.
she actually went with me while she was still there, went with me to the doctor and say, da da da. And I was able to be referred to a specialist,
Mm-hmm.
psychiatrist,
Mm-hmm.
and then um, went on from there really to get proper medication and stuff.
So
But it
you
was
speak,
hard.
it was hard. You talk about it in the past tense. How did you resolve that? How did that resolve? Is that resolved?
Um, I'm not sure that it's resolved because I think that when you struggle with your mental health, it's a bit like I think being an alcoholic, being an addict,
Mm-hmm.
in that you never quite free from it, as it were. It's always somehow lurking somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to just be aware of that. And so, I'm still on medication. I
Mm-hmm.
have been kind of thinking I want to get off this medication because I'm feeling great since I've been in Antigua. I was like, hey, I'm good. I don't need this. But I'm wary of just, stopping medication. Um, so yeah, it's at the moment I'm okay, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes.
Um, yeah.
So you say you're wary of stopping medication. What has your prescriber told you about that?
Well, I haven't spoken to my doctor to suggest I take half, like cut it, and try that and see if I can graduate and then speak to somebody. But here in Antigua, um, I don't have a specialist
Hmm.
um, that I can talk to. So I'm just keeping going and hoping for the best.
Well, what we say is always talk to the prescriber, to the one who prescribed it, and
Mhm.
don't wean yourself off alone. Just because you might not,
No.
you can never tell what contraindications there might be, depending on the particular medication.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm, mhm. Okay. I'm happy you're doing great in Antigua to the point where you're like, I don't need this. Right? So that's wonderful. So how can I support you tonight? Like what made you wanna come? What did you wanna process, talk about, explore?
Um, there's lots, but for the public's sake, um, I guess I was thinking about that kind of stage that one finds. So I'm divorced, and it's going to be this in the next couple of weeks or so, 3 weeks maybe. It's going to be 2 years. Yeah, it's going to be 2 years since my divorce and
Mhm,
3 years since being separated.
mhm,
So I'm not at the first year mark.
mhm,
So I'm in this kind of stage, what I call the now and the not yet,
mhm,
where I'm not boohoo crying,
mhm,
um,
mhm,
but there is still that pinch that happens every now and then. So it's trying to, how do we navigate this space of
mhm,
the now
mhm,
and the not yet, the what's to come, and how I will feel in the future, and kind of working towards the not yet
mhm,
without trying to hop from the present too much, because I do believe in staying in the present. And
Mm-hmm.
alongside all of that, one of the things I have recently been going through my mind is thinking about my children who are 24 and 26, and who
Mm-hmm.
I left in the UK to sort of escape to get my healing
Mm-hmm.
in Antigua, and that kind of sense of abandonment that I'm feeling for them.
Mm-hmm.
One of them said something that it's a bit strange not having a home to go
Mm-hmm.
to in the
Mm-hmm.
UK. They don't have, they
Mm-hmm.
can't go home. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so they live on their own, but they can't go home for Christmas. You
Christmas.
know, they don't have a home. And that's
Mm-hmm.
been really bothering me. And
What has that been bothering? What is the emotion? I feel.
there's a kind of longing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a kind of longing to be with them
Mm-hmm.
and to um, be there for
Mm-hmm.
them, be closer to them. So there's a kind
Mm-hmm.
of longing, a desire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's a kind of pain attached to that, and sadness
Yes.
and guilt,
Mm-hmm.
guilt attached to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the guilt?
The guilt that I've abandoned them, right? I've just gone to seek my own happiness,
Mm-hmm.
and they are unintentional casualties of the breakdown of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they float in my head. I kind of see that they're just floating around. This has happened to them. This is happening.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing they can do about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I no longer am able to protect them. That's my job, right? Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As a parent, right? I'm supposed to be protecting them. And I've never been an overprotective parent. I've kind of brought them up really to be independent. And I always say I think I did too much of a good job, that they, you know, they are fine being on their own. I never had that kind of thing where even when they were little, of them sort of like, oh, we want to stay with you, mommy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm like, yeah, go fly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting now that I'm like, and the guilt is that, sometimes maybe if I were a better parent, they would be more, please stay with me, mommy,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
What has been helping you so far
What do you
to
mean in terms
navigate this
of,
process?
well, this is fairly new. It's only the last, I would say, week or 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in terms of them or just generally?
Start with them and then generally.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just been the last week or two. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
calling them lots.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I don't know what to do. Or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's anything that can be done. So, I talk to them, are you okay? Like, yeah, we're fine, mommy. You
Mm-hmm.
know, yes, it's a bit awkward, but we're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, yeah, that hasn't made me feel less guilty or
Are you
feel,
fine with them being fine? Are you fine with them being fine?
yeah, yes. But I guess there's a part of me that is saying, are they really fine, or are they trying to protect me, or in some way, they don't want to hurt my feelings or whatever. So I guess maybe I want them to say, this is rubbish. I want them to cuss me out, basically. And I did not raise them up to be cussing out children, so I don't know what I'm expecting. So
What did
yeah,
you say you raised them to be independent?
yes, and to um, be adventurous and explore and just be themselves. Um,
Hmm.
Go on.
Sounds like if they are being
Sorry.
themselves. And it sounds as if they're being themselves and being adventurous and independent. Based on what
Yeah.
you're saying, based on what you're saying,
Yes,
what
I
you're
guess it's
listening.
the back of the head, like, especially for my son, not so much my
Mhm,
daughter. It's like, is
mhm.
he really okay? Is he just telling me he's okay because he don't want to hurt my feelings? Um,
Uh, what
yeah.
have your conversations about that looked like?
It's kind of like, yeah, it's a bit awkward, but that's them. That's the response.
Mhm,
My son is, there's nothing you can do. It's just the way it is. So
mhm.
what's the point in worrying about it? So I'm like,
So,
well, you've got to feel, make sure you're feeling.
so from what I'm hearing, your son seems to be managing based on what he's saying. Yeah. Do you trust?
Mm,
Do you trust him?
I do actually.
Hmm.
I do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So do you trust his words?
Yes. Because I think if it was because of how I have the conversations with him, if it was like if there was something, even though he would not like, he's not like me that's quite open to talk about feelings. He's not that kind of person. But I
Mm-hmm.
think he's good at saying, well, yes, this is this, da da da. Um, so yeah, and yeah,
Okay. You trust your daughter?
yes, because she would tell me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she would tell me. She has a really good way of. She's so mature. I'm like, who are you? You like if I'm saying, she's like, well, think of this way. She has a good way of um living in reality, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing, your son, you say you trust his words and he's been
Mm.
clear with you. Your daughter, you say you trust her words and she's been clear with you. So maybe we'll stay with you for a minute. Maybe we'll stay with you for a minute. And I wanna invite you to do a little exercise with me to see if that helps you get clearer. But because we're working with technology, in case we lose each other, we will finish this. In case this whole system shuts down, right? You and I will finish this by
Mhm.
phone.
Mhm.
Okay? So, uh, what if you close your eyes for a second?
Ah,
Yeah. And just take a few deep breaths. Yeah. In through your nose, maybe out through your mouth. And perhaps you invite, if you're comfortable with that, invite your higher power, your spiritual connection. Who's that for you? Or what force is that for
God,
you? Okay.
Holy
Okay.
Spirit.
Yes. Okay. So, what if you invited God and the Holy Spirit, their presence into this present moment that you tell me you focus on a lot? You try your best to stay with. And perhaps you might, in your mind, go to your very favorite and most relaxing place. And that might be a place out in nature, it might be a beach, it might be a lake. And when that place comes, just raise your hand, let me know you're there. Thank you. And tell me What place comes to you there?
I'm definitely at the beach.
Definitely at the beach. Can you see around you at the beach? What do
Yeah.
you see there? What do you see?
Water.
Water. What color is the water?
Um, it's very clear and it's reflecting the sky. So then it looks
Mm,
kind of blue.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What's the temperature like?
It's warm.
Warm. Hmm. What else do you see around you or hear around you?
The waves. And
The
there's
waves.
kind of background of people chattering.
Mm, mm. Can you touch anything?
Yeah, the rock. I'm sitting
The
on the
rock.
rock.
You're sitting on the rock. How does the rock feel? How does it feel?
It's hard.
It's hard. Is it
Yeah.
comfortable? Does it feel like it supports you?
Yeah, it's hard, but it's okay because I'm at the beach.
You're at the beach. Mm. So I want to ask you to invite your spiritual connection into that space with you, perhaps on the rock, or in the wind, or in the water, however it feels best for you. And to begin with, I want you to ask for protection and guidance and healing and clarity. Clarity. And so you came to me tonight with feelings of guilt and sadness and longing. Where in your body do you feel that?
Kind of the chest,
Mm,
shoulders.
chest and shoulder. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 meaning it's really a lot, and 0 is nothing. What number is it?
About 7.
About a 7. Hmm. Is there a color, or does it look like anything?
Gray,
Gray. Mm.
like
Does it look
dark
like
gray,
anything? Like what gray? Dark gray?
dark gray.
Hmm. Does it look like any shape?
There's just a mass of grayness.
Hmm. Hmm. So, what if you asked the Holy Spirit, God, to help you with that? Do you hear anything? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Mhm. Do you hear anything or see anything?
Got lots
As
of
you ask for help,
chatter.
what happens?
I think I'm hearing my chatter.
You're hearing your chatter?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Can you hear me?
It's like the thoughts that
It's okay.
intrude in
Mm-hmm.
through the space.
Mm-hmm. Keep your eyes closed.
Um,
Okay. Keep your eyes closed if you will.
yeah, I'd open it because the screen went off.
And blank. Mm-hmm. So it's like the chatter, your mental chatter, your thoughts,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
thoughts. Uh-huh. Can you share some
yeah.
of those thoughts? Can you share some of those thoughts?
It's almost like this is nothing to do with, well, it's not like it's nothing to do with the children. I think it's like about me and my own pain slash struggles with being divorced.
Mm.
So that is, the children is something else to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the reminder um, of the situation.
Okay. Well, what if you gave that gray a voice? What would it say?
This hurts.
This hurts. This what hurts?
I guess the situation, like failed marriage, failed relationship, um, is that the pain of, like when you plan your life or you imagine your life or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of falls apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's that kind of helplessness
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
also.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also the the desire, the urge to not feel that pain anymore, to move through it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
and to have it behind you, and so
Mm-hmm.
it no longer affects you.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
that's
I
like the
feel.
goal.
Mm-hmm. That's like the goal.
Mm.
The goal is to get to where I don't feel helpless anymore.
Yeah,
Hmm. So
I
what
don't
if
feel the
you?
pain.
So I feel what? I feel blank. I want blank.
I feel hurt,
I feel hurt.
and I want to not care anymore.
I feel hurt. I want to not care anymore. I wish I didn't care.
Yes,
Hmm. Yeah. I want to not care anymore. I feel hurt. Is there somebody you want to say that to?
um, not really. I don't think so. Maybe other things, but
I feel hurt. You mentioned helplessness.
yeah,
I feel helpless about.
the situation, because there's nothing, literally nothing I can do
Hmm.
um, to change it, and mm, it's like to get rid of the pain, but also not only my pain, but the pain of my children.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I think if it was just my pain, perhaps I would feel differently. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it feels,
I feel.
I feel that, feel that I've let them down.
So, can you say that after you say I feel, can you put a feeling word before you say I have let them down? Because I have let them down sounds more like a thought and a judgment. Hmm? So I feel emotion word. I feel. Your phone might be,
It keeps
yes.
blanking out the screen.
Mm-hmm. So I feel.
Feel sad, feel
Mm-hmm.
sorry
Mm-hmm.
that I've let them down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How is that feeling in your chest? The gray
There's no, it's, I think there's no big ball there now.
big ball there now. Yes. A big ball there now. What do you want to do with that ball?
Squash it, like
Squish
break
it.
it up.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and squish it. Break it up. You get to do that. And if you need help to do that, you've already invited your higher power in. So you're not alone. You have support. So squish it until you don't see it again. Tell me when you don't see it again or you don't feel it. Squish it until there's no more left.
Hmm.
Hmm. How does it feel now?
It's kind of looser.
It's looser. Mm-hmm. So keep squishing. You have time and you have help. You're not alone.
Mhm. Um, so there's like a bit of resistance
Mm-hmm. Two.
to like let it go.
Mm. So can you say that in a, like, I want to let it go, but, or a part of me wants to let it go, but,
It's that, yeah, part of me that wants to let it go, but it's that, what does that mean then, right? Once it's let go, and what does it look like, and do I trust myself?
do I trust myself? Okay. Can you connect to your, to the wisest part of yourself, the highest part of yourself that knows everything about you? Can you connect to that part of yourself? It might seem your age right now, it might even seem older.
I know that what I'm feeling isn't the whole of the story.
Hmm.
So there's that. Um,
What is the rest of the story?
that everything will be okay.
Okay.
Everything will be okay.
Who knows that?
God.
God knows that.
And I kind of know that too.
I kind of know that too. I kind of, what part of me knows that? What part of you knows that?
I would say my heart knows that,
Your heart knows that.
but my head is like,
Mm-hmm. Your heart knows that. Is that the same area that the gray was?
well, the green was kind of like spreading itself.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Where did it spread to, the gray?
sorry.
You said the gray was spreading itself. Where? Where to?
Oh, it's like it was just like spreading across. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, but it's
Mm-hmm.
now it's the it's not really a mass now anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like um, it's not broken, but it's lighter
Mm-hmm.
and like specks of white, and it's more. Is it what ethereal? Ethereal was that word? I was
Stereo.
saying more like,
Mm-hmm.
huh?
Stereo.
Yeah, it was like floating is more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a
Like a
mass.
big ball. Like a big ball anymore. Can I
Well,
ask you?
the ball is kind of part of that. So the ball was like in the center, kind of
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just the ball went rolling down the hill.
Mm-hmm. But there are pieces floating.
Yeah, in terms of the grainness, like
Mm-hmm.
the way I was
Mm-hmm.
feeling. So it's not heavy
Yeah.
anymore.
Yes. What if we
I'll tell
actually
you
got
later
rid of
what I thought. Off camera. Off
what if we
camera.
actually got rid of it?
Off
What if we
camera.
actually got rid of it? What if you asked? You said you invited the Holy Spirit, you invited God into this space with you. Do you think they can help you get rid of it?
Absolutely. I have no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're
Would
going
you give
back to
them?
that.
Go
Sorry,
ahead. Go ahead.
we're going back to that kind of, when I think something has become part of you
Mm-hmm.
and there's a familiarity with it.
Yeah. Yes.
So you need to release,
Yes.
but there's a part, it's become part of you. So it's like if you release that, are you releasing some parts of yourself? You know, who am I? Who
Mm-hmm.
is Ramona?
Mm-hmm.
Um, this kind of new identity. I'm not sure what to make of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm comfortable with the notion of being a divorced woman,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I don't feel like that's my identity, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's also a reality in the sense that I am a divorced woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you have the parts of yourself that were present within the relationship.
Right.
And that was you, that was genuinely you.
Mm-hmm.
So now that genuine you that loved and was loved,
Yes.
then I think that's where the struggle is.
That
Because
makes
that,
sense to me.
yeah, it's
Mm-hmm. That makes sense to me. Okay.
um,
So, acting from your highest self in conjunction with your highest support, what part do you want to keep and what part do you want to leave? You want to release. What part do you want to keep? What is one part you absolutely want to keep?
but it feels like to release any part is releasing all,
Mm-hmm.
because the pain would not exist if the love did not exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and I think um, the love is part of me, right? The
Mm-hmm.
way I think I'm a loving person. I think I'm a loving person.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a generous person. I'm a giving person.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I separate that? Um,
How do you
and what
separate the loving person?
when the person with taking away the getting rid of the pain or releasing the pain, um, they're so the pain and the love are so intertwined
Mm-hmm.
that you will lose some. I feel like, well, I'm wondering perhaps, do I lose something of that generous nature,
Hmm.
that generous person?
Well, let me ask you something. What if instead of releasing, what if you asked your higher power to help you cleanse it and turn the gray into light? To clean up the parts that need to be cleaned, the parts that cause the pain, the parts that hurt, clean it up, reset it. Would that work?
I think so, and I think that's kind of where I am getting to, because I actually wrote a letter
Hmm.
to my ex, a letter, a
Hmm.
thank you letter,
Thank you,
and
letter.
yeah, and it wasn't a thank you um, for the hurt, yeah. So
Hmm.
it's not that kind of, where people say, "Well, thank you for leaving me because then I became da da da."
Hmm.
It was me trying to. I had this, I guess, some kind of clarity around trying a feeling of releasing the pain
Hmm.
and realizing that if the focus remains on the pain, then it's kind of, oh my goodness, this thing is moved again. If the focus remains on the pain,
Hmm.
then that's where you stay,
Hmm.
and it becomes murky and cloudy. But
Hmm.
actually, before there was pain, there was light, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, so it's looking at that and being able to hold those things and say thank you for whatever, and I wrote them down,
Mm-hmm.
um, and not allow those memories to become triggers.
So what I'm
Okay.
hearing is, to not allow those memories to only be painful memories,
Yes.
but to be experiences of gratitude.
Yes. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think if I'm thinking of something that's good, right, that has
Mm-hmm.
happened, then I could then feel, well, maybe that could actually bring on the pain because you think, well, this was good, so why did that happen, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that could then take you back to the pain. But in actually doing the thank you, there was a little bit of a release in that it just was, right? It was just
Mm-hmm.
the gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
there was no pain. Um, and no, that not that there was no pain, but the pain was no longer center stage.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't know if that created then a space. So now I'm latching on to, well, the children are in pain, and therefore I'm in pain, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
You said I don't
Um,
know. I think we always know.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
yeah.
we have choice. And we have choice. Yeah.
Mm, mm,
Yeah. We always know, and we always have choices. So I'm also hearing you say that when I go into a state of gratitude, huh?
mm,
When I go into a state of gratitude, I can feel other things about that experience that don't all feel heavy and gray and dark and hopeless and helpless and
mm,
yucky. Yes, because although the relationship came to an end, there was love before.
mm,
Yeah. And there have been memories and life. Yeah. And living life with that person and many opportunities in there
mm,
to feel gratitude for.
mm,
And there is the choice to focus on that as well. And there is a window, you're saying, that's
mm,
almost beckoning you to come through. Come and
mm,
let's focus now. Perhaps now is the leg of the journey where we focus on the things we are grateful for
mm,
about the relationship, all of
mm.
it. How does that sound?
Yes, that makes sense. And yes, and that's why I was saying you create when you're releasing something that you create space unintentionally for something
Mhm,
else to come through, and it's then another thing to get through and to navigate. Um, yeah, because parts of you still kind of want to hold, and it's not a conscious decision. I'm going to hold on to this,
mhm,
but I think
mhm,
that kind of happens subconsciously,
mhm.
or unconsciously. Um,
It's just part of your process,
mm,
and that's okay too. So I think here is a good place for us to rest for the first session. And I want to give you homework. I
Did you
want
not
to
say
give
that I was stressed when I was studying?
I want to give you homework. And your homework you've already begun. You've already begun doing your homework. I want you to focus on at least one. I'm not giving you much. If I was giving you a lot of homework, it would be three. At least one thing to feel and to practice on purpose. Gratitude for about your relationship. Each day until we talk again. This coming Sunday, Lord willing. Every day, I want you to write it down. Just write it down. Could be in your phone, in the note section of your phone, or in your diary, on a piece of art. One thing. I am grateful for. I am grateful for. I am grateful for. I am grateful for. How's that sound?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Think you can manage that one?
Well,
Just one?
I've lots to choose from that I've written down, so
That's it.
or maybe
That's
I'll
it.
find a new one. Who knows?
Either way is fine with me. Either way is fine with me. Just sitting in that place of gratitude, which you have found, is one way to help you feel some light, see some light. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we're going to end today. I'm going to think about some of what you've said and prepare for a second session and ask you to also pay attention to what thoughts come up for you during the week, what insights you get. Um, what was this like for you?
I'm usually okay with stuff, but it was bordering on like
What is the word for her? Give her a word.
discomfort. I think if I was doing this with any other person, I'd be like, nah. But I trust you, so
Yeah. You'd be like, nah, I'm not going there. Nah. Nah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I applaud your bravery, your courage is what it is. Your courage to explore your emotions. Yeah, because this is heavy. These are heavy emotions. And
That's why a lot of people don't want to do it.
don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. A lot of people prefer to go do other things to not feel it. Yeah. Except that they just postpone the feeling or they put it into something else that, often it's not good for us. Yeah. So I really strongly applaud you for feeling. I heard you mention emotional bypassing and spiritual bypassing. That's what we're trying to avoid because it makes us sicker. Can you tell the people what spiritual bypassing is?
Our spiritual bypassing is when we use scripture, what I would say in an appropriate manner. So, for example, somebody has just suffered a bereavement, and you might say to them, things people might say is like, well, God needed them, so he took them, or they're in a better place. But they use particular scripture, and I can't think of the scripture right now, to tell you why you're worried, why you're anxious, because the Bible says do not worry.
Yeah.
And in a kind of brushing off ways. This is not done. It's done. I want to say it's done with good intention, but I hesitate that because I think if intention is purposeful, so I would say it's more done without intention. without
Mm-hmm.
truly thinking. Because if we truly thought about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I suppose we wouldn't say it. And so rather than a helpful way is to just sit with people,
Mm-hmm.
in their pain. Somebody's bereaved, you don't know what to say. Yes, we know that God knows everything, but now is not the time to tell them that.
Mm-hmm.
Now is not the time to tell them not to cry, or your loved one wouldn't want you to cry. Now is not the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to find ways of using scripture in ways that encourage
Mm-hmm.
rather than put people in prison.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. Final thought. What's one of your biggest joys from your relationship? And let's leave it there since you spent a lot of time tonight processing some feelings there. One of your biggest joys.
I would say family time with the kids, like
Mm-hmm.
holidays and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Games night,
Games night. Favorite game?
Monopoly. We had like around seven different types of Monopoly. Sometimes it ended in disarray. Other times it ended in outrageous laughter.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. We're grateful. Thank you for sharing with me tonight. I'll see you next Sunday
Yeah.
and same time, 8 o'clock.
I
8
hope
o'clock.
everything works this time.
Everybody who showed up tonight, I want to tell you all thank you for showing up tonight. Um, Petal said it's been nice to see you. Petal Corbett. It's been donkey years, right? Over 40 years. She remembers your siblings very well. Um, Heather says Raul, but maybe she meant Ramona.
No, Raul. They used to call me
Raul?
Raul. Yeah.
Oh, really?
But I was gonna say, is it people that I don't like that would call me Raul?
I don't know. I've never heard that. I've never heard
Yes,
that.
there was some. I don't know where it came from.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Hi,
didn't like
Eleanor.
it.
You didn't like it? Hi, Eleanor. Yeah. Okay, Mama. Thank you so much for sharing with
All
us
right, my
tonight.
dear. Thank
Okay.
you
Call
for
me if you
holding
need me.
space.
Call me if you need me.
Will do.
Okay. All right. Peace, y'all.